Hey guys, we're going to talk a little bit about investments, when's the right time to take in an investor, how much equity you should dilute, and what are investors looking for in businesses. So on the first question, what's the right time? And that's debatable because it depends on the kind of business that you're running. But if you're running more of a brick and mortar business, then I would say the right time is really when you've gotten to a stage where, number one, if you can take debt and you have the capacity and the internal accruals to pay back the interest and the capital, take debt. If somebody is willing to give it to you at a reasonable rate, if you are taking equity and you're bringing in an external investor, you ideally don't want to do it with a strategic investor very early if you want to keep your options open, because once a strategic investor takes a minority stake in you, it blocks you from every other investor. So let's assuming you're going with a financial investor. Now the right time is when you have demonstrated enough credibility to show that you have a business model that works, and it has worked in not only one place but a couple of places, but you are not at the place where you have already expanded and gotten all the juice out of the business already. So it's about timing it between showing credibility, having a team that you are able to also involve in doing it, where you've implemented some good systems and processes, and now you want to really scale. And that's the right time to bring in an investor when you're also ready to take the liability of handling somebody else's capital, and when you're open enough to take other people's opinions. Usually at a startup stage, I don't think that's the right time. You want to wait till you are at least a few years matured, you've come to a stage where you've proven this, and then you're ready to really escalate. In terms of how much investment you want to really take in terms of dilution, it's a tricky one, right? Because a lot of the times, your check size and the amount you want to raise will become a deterrent to the kind of investors you get. If you take too much equity and dilute yourself too early, you have a challenge. You take too little, you have a challenge. This is like Goldilocks and the baby bear. It has to be just right. And what is just right? So for example, I remember the first time I took equity, I diluted about 20% at the time. I then went to the next step of going down to about 28% the next time. That was 20 became 28. Currently, I still own about 58% of my business, and that's been over a period of about 18 years that I've been building it. So the idea would be to take enough capital that you have at least liquidity for a couple of years, so you're not constantly capital raising, because that itself is a 6 months exercise that can take a lot of productive time away from your business. So enough liquidity, but you don't want to get liquidity for 5 years, because by the time you go back to the market 2 years later, your valuation would be higher. So taking too much money up front means you've taken it at a much lower valuation and diluted more. Ideally, if it's possible, depending on the check size you're raising, you ideally want to keep your first investment round between 20 to 30% or less than 30%. And ideally, you want to go up to, as a private enterprise, go up to a 51% where you are still holding a majority in an ideal situation. There may be situations in which equity company is offering to take 70% in your company, and you require that capital to really scale. It's definitely worth a thought, but you want to make sure that the voting and management control lies with you, even in tricky situations, so that you're not stuck in a bad situation where tomorrow when the equity investor wants to exit, you're dragged along, or you don't have any choices at that point of time. So you want to keep effective management control with you, even if you don't have economic control, and that's not possible.